Hello everybody and welcome to Profit Mission Control. This is Matt Trader coming to you. Today is February 2nd, 2019. And I want to talk to you today about my next endeavor, which is the $50,000 trading challenge. So with this challenge, I'm aiming high. Last year, I took a $2,500 account and grew it up to close to a $140,000 account. Proved that you can grow a small account if you have the right skills to find the right stocks to trade and have the discipline and manage your risk appropriately. So with this year, my goal is really to target more capital growth. And some of you might argue that $50,000 is not necessarily a challenge by any means. And I would have to agree with you on that because you're starting already with a fairly large capital and with a fairly good cushion. However, my goal for this is really capital growth. So I have personal, capital growth targets as well as business goals that I want to achieve. And I spend a lot of time developing tools to help me almost put this on autopilot. So it's you'll never have like a trading full autopilot, but this is kind of my way of saying, okay, now that I've demonstrated the ability to grow small account, I've demonstrated all the proper risk management techniques. I have a process to scan and find appropriate setups. So the goal now is to grow my capital. And I want to test and validate how automation can be used to trade your way into wealth. So I have been working on a automating tool to actually trade using the Interactive Brokers API. It's called the Command Center, and I can show you how that looks like in a second here. And I want to make sure that we can apply that tool to grow an account, $50,000 account, to something more significant. So my plan is to start with $50,000. So that's my maximal capital, equity, maximum loss. I'm only going to be trading launch list setups, so no intraday alerts. Intraday alerts will be traded on a different account, and only when I have the time and I believe they are good setups. I'm going to be using a margin account at Interactive Brokers, which is the brokerage that I use because of their advanced API technology that marries very well with the software I've developed. And that software is called the Command Center, which is a proprietary application for automated trading. So if you're not familiar with it, here's what it looks like. The main tool here is to trade the launch list stocks, and primarily I load it every day with my launch list selection, so things that are still haven't launched yet. And the idea there is fairly simple. It monitors in real time the current price of a stock and compares it to the target launch at price. If the current price is equal to or above the launch at price, it will send an automatic order into Interactive Brokers to execute the trade. Once the trade is in flight, it will continue to monitor the current price against the profit at price or the abort at price. Now, while it's in the flight, I can adjust my allowed wiggle. So this wiggle is really to control the limit price that goes into the order system so that I'm ensured that I can at least get into the stock. Sometimes a stock goes up so quickly that I'm not able to get in. So for example, here we had a missed launch. This is from Friday of this, February 1st. So this stock, CDXS, for example, was not able to get in it, although my limit price was, 1 cent above the launch at price, but the price went up very quickly, so you couldn't get in there. Now the abort price, the same thing. There's a wiggle of 1 cent, so that means that if the abort price is achieved or reached, and that means we have to exit the trade, it will give it 1 more cent below that price before it sends in a limit sell order to exit the trade. With profit, so same thing here. The profit at price is where I take profit. And I can adjust that here by this profit control column. So I can basically say if the stock looks like it's strong, I probably could give it some more room. So, you know, add like 10 cents above my profit target, maybe even more if I needed. I'm being very conservative the last, I would say, 4 weeks since the end of December, just because of the turbulent market we've had and the big sell-off, and things were kind of not holding up very well. So I'm being very conservative with my profit target. I'm taking profit basically as soon as I can. In the past, I used to be more patient, and maybe as things get better and the market stabilizes a little bit better, it will give me more confidence to potentially hang on to some of the winners a little bit longer. But in a nutshell, this is the command center. And you can see here, this is my snapshot from Interactive Brokers at the end of Friday. So we have MNK, EXTR, AD&T, ATUS, I in flight, currently in flight, and these are the positions that I have currently. And you can see them here. This is how many shares I have for what stock, and you can compare this is my entry price, and this is kind of the current price. So you can see that I'm down on EXTR. It says here $305. Here it says $317, and the difference is really just probably rounding error plus the commissions. So but in general, like here it's you know, ATUS is down $66. This is about $60. I is down $36. Here it shows that I'm up to $2. So just a slight variation based on the calculation, what the average price is and what the average price that I capture when I actually enter that trade. So this has been very, very helpful because it's very hard to manage multiple stocks at the same time. I've used to do it in the past with stop limit orders or just live market orders when I feel like, you know, the number of stocks that are manageable. But moving forward, this is kind of the tool that I'm going to be using. It's very reliable. Been testing it for the last few months, and it's been very, very good and successful. Now, this also automatically sends out text messages, tweets on Twitter, as well as stock tweets. So it's kind of an all-in-one center that I use to trade the launch list, and that's my plan for this $50,000 challenge. Now, moving to what is the share size and growth calculator. So you know that I've developed this last year, and I've been using it multiple times depending on, you know, the portfolio size. So with this new challenge, I'm starting with an equity of $51,000, and limiting the risk really to 0.8% of my equity. So I'm only willing to lose no more than 0.8% of the $51,000. With a round trip commission of $11, which is a little bit conservative because Interactive Broker actually charges a little bit less than that. But I'm just throwing in 11 here, kind of worst case scenario. And a maximum trade risk of 39 cents. So this is what's the actual stop loss from my entry price. Now, this is an average based on the data that I've collected since December. Some stocks, as you know from the launch list, can have a higher stop loss and then have a lower. This is kind of the average. The loss cap per trade, you don't have to worry about this one. This is more for when you have a larger equity and you want to cap your loss regardless of anything else. I use that parameter here. It's just set at 5,000. It doesn't mean anything because my maximum loss cap is really, you know, this $397. Excuse me. So with these parameters, this is telling me that my average trade size is going to be about 1,000 shares. So in the neighborhood of 1,000 shares per trade per launch. And that one, once I know this number of shares, I know what my maximum trade risk is going to be, around $400. So I'm willing to lose $400 per launch. And if you notice here, that means I have to lose 125 times consecutively to lose all my equity. Now, the assumption obviously is that as my accuracy is a little bit higher, so that should not happen, but kind of just tells you that I have 125 trades before wipeout. Now, in terms of stock prices, so the way I treat this, as I showed you before, is my buying power is 4 times during the day and two times overnight. So it will be tricky maintaining certain open launches in flight. So some of them I may have to close before reaching either the abort or the profit target just to maintain my equity to margin. But during the day, it's about 4 trades. Four times my buying power. And I've programmed it so that I can have up to 7 open trades at the same time. And by doing that, given my buying power, that means the maximum stock I can be in is $25. That means that if I open 7 positions times 1,000 shares times $25, that's kind of, you know, that basically is all my buying power. Now, it's a little bit more conservative because I can squeeze in maybe 8 to 9 if I need to. Not all the stocks are going to be $25. Some of them range, you know, between $7 to $8 to maybe $25. So in reality, this number is more conservative. There will be times where I might be having 8 or 9 trades open at the same time. But for overnight holding, I can't be holding more than a buying power roughly of $100,000 from where I'm starting. In terms of growth prospects, I put some conservative numbers here based on my historical average. So profit to risk ratio, you can think of this as the profit factor as well. Let's put it as 112%. I put my accuracy around 66%. And for targeting a growth of 100%, meaning I want to double my equity, I'm looking at roughly 348 launches, which would take me about 99 trading days. That's assuming about 3 to 4 trades per day or launches per day, which would put me at about 4.5 to 5 months time-wise to get to my equity level. Now, I'm expecting that will be a little bit shorter because as the equity grows, the share size will probably grow, and I'll be able to kind of accelerate getting to my target faster. It all depends obviously on the market and how the market behaves, but conservatively I'm saying, you know, maybe within five months I should be able to get to my target of doubling the equity. So that's kind of what the plan looks like. So about 1,000 shares per launch, no more than a $25 price per share, and I can have up to 7 open trades at a given time. You're all familiar with this table. This is kind of my approach, that I'm going to be floating the maximum loss per share. So it won't be the same for every stock. It will be different depending on the actual setup. Same thing with the target profit per share. The goal is to have a profit to risk somewhere above 100%. The higher the better. And based on that, the prices or the number of shares will be adjusted according to my calculator. So the way I do it, if you're not familiar, I scan overnight for stocks between $1 and $25. I'm more biased towards stocks that are above $10. Sometimes stocks that are $7 or $8 might also present a good opportunity. But I'm going to use using the launch list market scanning criteria, which I use Trade Ideas as my main tool. And that one causes, that's one I have multiple scanners in Trade Ideas that I use overnight to scan for potential good setups for the next day. We talked about variable number of shares, so based on the variable trade risk, but a fixed account risk. So I'm never going to be losing more than 0.8% of my total equity. I will be adjusting my share size as my equity grows. The profit goal per launch, kind of rough estimate, about $450 or more. And my maximum loss is about $400. So, you know, if I hit $400, I'm out of the trade. If I hit $450 or more in my profit, then, you know, that's where I'm taking my profit. So that puts me roughly about the 110, 112 profit to loss ratio. Timing wise, we talked about doubling, going from 50,000 to 100,000, which would be my first milestone. I expect that to occur, like we said, about 4 to 5 months out. So I would say, you know, by June time frame, I fairly think I will be there. Hopefully better than that, but for now I'm being conservative and saying my target is really to be at 100K around the June 7th time frame. Reporting the results, I'll have weekly recaps. So this is kind of last weekly recap before I started the official challenge. But the recap will include all the launches, but all the winners in addition to all the losers. It will show how many launches were traded in that week, how many of them were winners, how many of them were losers, what's my profit to risk plan, what's my actual profit to loss actual, what's the accuracy for the week, how many days per launch on average, what's the total profit per share. So if you took 100 share, for example, you'd multiply that by this amount to figure out how much profit you made during that week. Profit factor is really the total amount of winners, net profit over the total number of, or the total amount of loss. So the net profit divided by the net loss gives you a profit factor. Anything above 2 is healthy. So that's kind of what my goal is. And with that, I want to wrap it up. You can follow me on StockTwits / Matt Muster, on YouTube, Profit Mission Control, Facebook, Twitter, Profit_M_C, and on Instagram, although I'm not very active there yet. So with that, I hope you guys follow me around this. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, please put in the comments below. I look forward to this challenge and reporting to you hopefully on a more frequent basis. And with that, I would say take care.